Describe in single words only the good things that come into your mind. About your mother?
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains themes and language not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High Tech Low Life podcast.
Welcome back.
With your hosts, Eric and Josh. That was Josh.
It was. And previously talking to you is Eric.
There you go. Switching up just a little bit, make us introduce each other. We are halfway through our recap of Mona Lisa Overdrive, the third book in William Gibson's Sprawl Trilogy.
Yes. You want me to run down really quickly what happened in the first third?
Before we get into it, I know can't really talk dystopia. We're 2 weeks behind whatever horrible dystopian thing has occurred in the world.
Yeah.
And we kind of blew our recommendos last time, but I had a story I wanted to share, if you don't mind.
Oh, great. All right. Love a story.
It's not that great of a story. In fact, it's probably a pretty lame story, but it happened to me today and it was funny. Okay. So I don't want to brag here or anything, but I'm a licensed real estate agent in the state of Kansas and Missouri. So,
man,
ladies, line up at the door. I was showing a house today to a friend of mine, actually, who is looking for something in the Wyandotte County area.
Okay.
And
is this a friend I know?
No,
curiosity?
You do not know this friend. Okay. This is my business associate.
Yeah.
And we looked at this house. The house was not really going to work. But first thing when we pulled up, the neighbor, big old stars and bars blowing in the breeze over the window.
Cool. Good sign.
Rebel flag is always who you want as your neighbor. I'm just thinking for the poor listing agent, all of the buyers that they're immediately crossing off their list as possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not my neighborhood.
No, it's not. Then as we looked at the house, pretty much decided it wasn't what he wanted. And then as we are leaving, I look over at this neighbor's house. There's like a 300-pound fucking pig grazing under this rebel flag in the dude's front yard.
Whoa. All right. Just hanging with the stereotypes.
I saw the dude like come out of his house and dump a pail of something into the yard.
Oh, wow.
Like the house, from what I've described, the house that you're picturing in your mind right now, that's probably correct.
Yeah. I bet I know approximately where that is.
You might be surprised. We flipped a few over in that area. It's
okay.
I don't want to blow up any of a spot, but it's close to like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that area. It wouldn't have been my first guess on where.
We looked at several houses. You gotta love Wyandotte County, man. You're close to the city, but sometimes you feel like you're in deep rural territory.
Yeah, that's over there where it's undermined, and there used to be horses.
Yeah,
some ponies and shit.
I was very surprised to look over and see an enormous fucking pig in this dude's yard.
Yeah, pigs. I wasn't aware that there were pigs over there, but
I don't think they have any ordinances against livestock. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's the only little anecdote. We had to re-grease the gears from our break we just took between episodes. We're recording these in one block. We've both been tippling a little bit as we recorded, so Just
A little
just
bit.
a little butt. So apologies for what you're about to listen to.
We're going to do great.
We're going to do great because we're covering great source material. Why don't you give us a quick recap of what happened in the first third of Mona Lisa Overdrive?
Okay. Let's see. Chapter 1.
No, please don't do it like that.
Okay, so we got 4.
Keep it to a tight 90 seconds.
We got 4 characters. Kumiko, who's a daughter of a Yakuza. She's hooked up with Molly from Neuromancer. She's in
Not
London.
Officially, she's hooked up with Sally, who just happens to really resemble Molly.
Yeah, very, very strong resemblance. Angie Mitchell, who was a main character in Count Zero. She's a big SimSense star, who also, voodoo gods go through her brain and tell her things.
Mm-hmm. As they do with all of us.
Yeah. Slick Henry, who builds giant robots out in the middle of nowhere, and he's forced into sort of taking care of a comatose dude who's plugged into a big box. And
comatose dude named the Count.
Yes. And also Mona, a 16-year-old and sinless prostitute and stripper who apparently resembles Angie and is going to be an actress/model. And has now relocated to the Sprawl from fucking shithole Florida.
Shithole, awful, terrible Florida. Worst place in the world. Sorry, Floridians. You know it's true.
I feel fucking like my mom lives in Florida now and has for the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad that I've never visited her. Just because I kind of have a distaste for Florida.
Yeah. Florida does not come off looking well from the first few chapters of this book, that's for sure.
No, it doesn't. Or
life.
Past 200 years of history.
Especially the past 200 days. We talked about it last episode, but it sucks.
It's not great. No.
That said, I hate to be one of those people that's like, you voted for this, you get what you deserve. I know they're good ass people.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a fucking red state, man. Yeah,
we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as shitty of a boat, but it's a pretty shitty boat still.
I mean, on the upside, we don't have fucking monsoon season, so that's cool.
True. We have tornadoes, though.
At
any moment, one could descend from the sky and devour us.
I'm given to understand that based on recent immigrants that I know. Are you free? Dude, I just got a tornado warning. What should I do? I don't know. Hang out?
Watch it? Go out on your porch? Crack a beer? Enjoy yourself? This could be your last moments?
One of my very, very good friends who relocated here from Arizona a couple of years ago when there was a tornado that hit Eudora and wasn't too far from Lawrence, and he was phoning me panicked. And I was like, I don't know, dude, man, you just kind of hang out. I've seen...
If it's going to get you, it's going to get you. Like
I've seen a bunch. There's nothing you can do about it, so you just kind of hang out and, you don't have a basement, so...
Yeah, if you have a basement, go to it. If you don't, shrug.
Have a beer, try to relax about it.
You can spend the moment cowering in a bathtub with a mattress over your head and probably still die, or you can be on your porch, shirt off, hair whipping behind you, American flag in hand.
Yeah, shooting at it, maybe. I don't know.
We are a lot like Florida.
Yeah.
Solidarity with Florida, man.
All right, sure. Yeah, solidarity with the workers in Florida. How about that?
Yeah, amen. Let's move on to Mona Lisa Overdrive, though, because we are going to keep this to a tight.
We fucking are. Okay, so now we are talking about chapter 17. So Sally gets Kumiko out of the house. Sally appears in her bedroom in the middle of the night and says, get dressed, come on. There's a very nice scene with Petal standing at the door with a pistol in his hand, and basically there's a...
I just kind of love this scene.
Yeah. Sally knows Petal isn't going to shoot her. Petal knows Petal isn't going to shoot her. he just knows he has to make a show of stopping her from taking Kumiko out of the house, because otherwise Swain would be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And
Everybody's just kind of doing the roles they know they're supposed to do.
He had previously, when Sally and Kumiko were in Kumiko's bedroom, had called on the phone to let Sally know that he knew they were that this was happening. So everybody's just kind of playing their part, and
Kind of really endears Petal to you.
Yeah, Petal is a really good character, and you just kind of realize through the first half of the book, and then it's paid off in the end, that this guy's it's all gonna work out for him. He's gonna do his fucking job and not get too far up his own ass like Swain does.
In this book, Gibson really does kind of reward the people who deserve it, and kind of punish the people that don't.
Yeah,
as we're probably about to hear in the next Mona chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. That is exactly the next chapter. So they head on out to. So Kumiko and Sally head on out to the Sprawl. Kumiko realizes as they hit the airport that she accidentally left Colin hidden behind a bust to listen to people coming in and out of the house. And the conversations, but what are you going to do? So they hit the Sprawl. Chapter 18. Henry wakes up after a tentacular horror appeared in front of his face. So the power's out now. And Henry sends Little Bird to go get a truck from some people they know a few miles away. I don't know if
we really explained who Little Bird was, but he just appears to be like just a tweaker that lived with Henry and
he kind of he's a little Jersey tweaker, kind of runs errands for him,
really dumb,
not a bright guy, young, has a bunch of fetishes on his on a fucking necklace, and he's just doing his best, man. He's just he's
the kind of character that's introduced and you're like, this guy's probably not going to make it to the end.
Yeah, in my mind, I imagine him as a guy that Eric and I know. It won't mean anything to the audience, but I think Eric will get a kick out of it. Jason T.
Yeah, I got a kick out of it.
He is very much a Jason T.
One of our listeners, Wes, if you're listening to this, you might remember him.
Yes. He's a whole thing.
He's a Little Bird for sure.
Yeah. The power's out. Henry sends Little Bird to another occupied area in the Dog Solitude to get a truck so they can get the Count the fuck out of here, because this is obviously not working out.
Yeah.
And then Gentry explains a few things to Henry. And it turns out that the LF that the Count is plugged into is not an LF, but an Aleph, which is a gigantic block of Biosoft.
A distinction that was completely lost on me listening to an audiobook.
Oh, yeah, I bet that's the case, because when it's... in the book, when Henry's referring to it, it's literally capital L, capital F.
I assume by the way you were pronouncing it.
Yeah, until Gentry explains it, and then it's Aleph, which is a reference to a Borges short story, The Aleph.
Yeah, I saw that in Wikipedia of this book.
You ever read any Borges?
No.
Okay.
What do I look like? Somebody who reads?
I guess that's
not a fucking nerd, dude.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Anyway,
I played sports, bro.
Sure you did. Anyway, everybody, if you want some interesting stuff, check out Jorge Luis Borges.
I hear it's good.
He's Argentinian, and one of, I would say he's a major influence on Gibson and a lot of the cyberpunk authors. So yeah, it's
Should we cover it?
I don't know about that. It's one of those things that like you can see his work's influence, but I don't think anything off the top of my head actually says cyberpunk. We've got enough things that are, at
Definitely.
least marginally cyberpunk to
Yeah.
cover before we get to that. Yeah, so I wouldn't say it was at the top of our list.
Okay.
Yeah, so it turns out it's a giant fucking brick of memory, like
giant.
enough to simulate the universe.
Yeah, Gentry is like notably erect when he figures out what it is.
Yeah, it is. It is Gentry's godhead, effectively,
He's into it
in a sexual way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
we are clean clear. Gentry wants to fuck this box.
Yes, he really does.
Gibson didn't specifically write that, but it's very clear.
Yeah. So, yeah, Gentry kind of explains a little bit of what's going on, and then we cut away. Chapter 19, Mona. Eddie, Pryor mentions that Eddie is gone. He took off. He went on a gambling
Eddie
trip to
he
Canton.
loves to gamble, as you know, Mona. Eddie's
Yes.
a big gambler. We gave him a bunch of money. He's gone
Macau.
off.
He went to Macau. To hit the casinos, and he's definitely dead because Mona sees his alligator luggage.
Mona knows that he hated gambling.
Yeah.
Seems out of character for someone described as Eddie is described in the book.
Yeah.
He loved gambling. Because as a degenerate, I love gambling.
Yeah. So, yeah, Mona is now just with Pryor.
One thing I really liked about how they did this chapter, though, when Pryor makes that slip about Eddie going gambling, it actually gives Mona some power because she knows that Pryor doesn't know everything. Like it clues her in that Pryor can be manipulated. He can be misled because she knows that Eddie doesn't love gambling and he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, even though Mona is kind of passive to some extent, she does have agency, and she is smarter than everybody in the book is taking her to be.
Yeah, I really liked the character of Mona.
Yeah, actually. She's not a smart character, but everybody is taking her for dirt fucking stupid, and she is clearly not.
Right.
She's just uneducated. Like, I don't think I've mentioned it, but Mona is illiterate.
Yeah, she is.
Which is apparently not uncommon. Everybody's taking her for just dumb as a fucking rock. But she's not. She's fairly bright. She's just completely
a fucking survivor, man.
Uneducated and deeply traumatized and has a horrible backstory.
Yeah.
And, she's getting through the world as best she can, which is, all really any of us can hope for.
But another great writer once penned, "The meek shall inherit the earth." Mm-hmm. And perhaps there are good things in Mona's future.
Yeah, perhaps.
That great writer was God, by the way.
Oh, shit. Do I love Jesus now?
I think so.
Speaking of which, New Righteous Gemstones season coming up. That's exciting.
Shit.
Yeah, I saw the trailer the other day. Okay. So, yeah, Eddie's gone. She's got a stun gun. Pryor's gonna take her to... Pryor gives her some sim-stims of Angie.
Yeah, she loves Angie.
Yeah, this one... Specifically this one where there are paragliders, and it's going to be great. And then she's got an appointment with Gerald Chin Dentist coming up in a day or so. So, chapter switch. Hilton Swift shows up to Angie's. Angie basically interrogates him about what he knows about everything.
In spite of myself, I kind of liked Hilton Swift.
He's kind of and throughout the whole thing, Angie sees him as the villain.
Right.
He is not a villain. He's just a dude trying to scrape some shit out of
he does seem to kind of care about her.
Yeah, she's imagining him as a villain, and I don't think any of his actions actually make him a villain.
Yeah.
Like the he ends up, I think a lot of the things that she kind of blames him for end up being the fault of Robin.
Yeah.
And then continuity.
Yeah.
So he's kind of an interesting character in the book because he is so totally set up to be, he's the corporate villain manager guy.
Right.
But
he's
just like, he's got bosses, and he's not doing anything like actively shitty to her that he knows of. I mean,
he's trying to do his job and trying to look out for her, but yeah, I mean, he's not a super important character or super interesting character, but
he looms really large in Angie's mind and narrative, but really he's not very important.
Right. Yeah. In the end.
Yeah.
Although once again, he's got a good final moment too.
Yeah. So yeah, he shows up at Malibu, and Angie interrogates him about what happened to Bobby and how much they've been tracking Bobby, and it turns out that Bobby, who you remember from Count Zero, he apparently became some sort of wirehead and shook SenseNet's trackers in Mexico City. Which was at some point, I assume over a year ago, as we mentioned last episode.
Yeah, I felt like it was a little longer than that, but sure.
Yeah, I say over a year ago, meaning up to 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Kind of a general, it wasn't recent.
I liked the way he described that he was really living in her shadow.
Yeah.
Bobby, if you recall, had dreams of being this console cowboy, and now he was just kind of this hanger-on of a Hollywood starlet.
And at the same time, as we find out, I can't remember. I don't know that I made any notes about that. Maybe it's later, but we find out he sort of became a pretty good console cowboy, but he didn't also want to be just a kept man, and headed in an extremely esoteric direction in terms of technology and personal philosophy.
Yeah, kind of a gentry direction.
Yeah, I don't know. That might come up later.
Those two kind of seem to be on a similar path.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the bulk of that chapter, and we're figuring out at this point, we're also figuring out and planning, like, okay, she's going to go back to the Sprawl and then head up to Freeside and do this kind of revisiting Taliesin thing.
Yep.
Okay, what's next?
Doing great.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Okay, chapter 21. We're almost to my favorite chapter in the book.
We were originally planning to stop episode 1.
Yeah. Okay, so chapter 21. Gentry theorizes on the Aleph to Henry. That it contains entire worlds and possibly the universe. It is effectively 9 billion fucking terabytes or something like that.
So at this point, Henry has not spoken to Bobby, right?
Nope, not yet.
For some reason, I thought that was earlier. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's explaining what he thinks is going on. He explains what he thinks is going on with the Aleph and the Count.
This is when you start to realize that Gentry isn't just a lunatic freaking out about something that doesn't make sense. Gentry's actually kind of a genius.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Maybe still a lunatic.
Yeah. Those two things are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. I really like the character of Gentry. He's obviously not a POV character, and kind of, I don't know, he was kind of on the peripheral, but I just liked the way he was described.
I feel like sometimes I'm more Gentry than I'm entirely comfortable with. Like when I end up out, when I'm 2 weeks out in the field and I've had about 4 beers and I'm just going on about changing landscape usages through the, Paleo-Indian and archaic periods. And like, I can see the picture in my head and man, I cannot get it out to other people. And they look at me like I'm crazy.
I want to be the Slick Henry to your Gentry.
Yeah, that's great. Build me a battle bot.
I'm on it.
Sweet. Okay, so yeah, Gentry theorizes on what could be going on in the Aleph with the Count. And that this could be the key to this whole thing he's been working on for however many years.
Right.
He gets the power, he, hacks the Fission Authority, gets the power back on. And so, like,
he apparently has to do this a lot. Like, it's a daily thing to keep power going on.
I think it's like every several days. Yeah, maybe once a week. Because apparently he disappears for days at a time.
True.
So, Gentry says, okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to send you in to talk to this guy while I monitor everything that's going on outside, because I really want a picture of what's happening. And that's the end of that chapter. Okay, chapter 22, my favorite in the entire book.
Ooh.
I love it. It's like, it almost brings me to tears.
Ooh,
if I was in, if I was 3 beers in reading this, I mean, I'd tear up.
It's a good chapter.
Yeah, Kumiko and Sally hit the city. They're in the sprawl. Sally explains why Swain and Petal let them go, because they didn't really have a choice. That, apparently they need Sally for something. They're blackmailing her to be there. And they can't even be... So they can't risk hurting her, and they certainly can't risk hurting Kumiko.
Right.
So that's why they let him go.
And they know that Sally's capable. She'd probably protect Kumiko.
Yeah, she's not going to hurt Kumiko for no goddamn reason.
Right. Probably safer to just let her go.
Yeah, exactly. So Kumiko and Sally hit the sprawl, and they go to a building with an old neon sign that says Metro Holographics and is directed around the corner. And Finn is a goddamn Ghost in the Machine oracle.
Yes, the Finn returns. This is the only chapter that I texted you as I was listening to, so it must have made an impression on me too.
Yeah, it's... man... We don't know exactly what happened to the Finn. He might not have survived the events at the end of Count Zero.
Yeah.
There's no information on that. He might have died 5 years later, whatever. But Finn is a ghost in an ATM with a fucking laser eye and a fucking HAL 9000 monitor. And he is just on the back of a building in some sort of brick of memory. And people give him offerings and ask him for advice.
It's so fucking crazy.
I know, and it's like, I don't know, I told you in the first book, like, the Finn is my favorite character.
Right.
And just the way he goes through these books, like, do you understand why Finn is my favorite character?
Absolutely. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the constant in all of them.
Yeah, he is the one thing that links all 3 books.
So I got to ask, and please put your desire to fuck with me aside. Do any other William Gibson books take place in this universe, and is the Finn at least referenced in the future?
Not books. At least a couple of short stories in Burning Chrome. I honestly do not remember. I don't think that the Finn appears in any of the Burning Chrome stories.
You know how another reason that just connected with me why the Finn would be your favorite character is because of another favorite character of yours, from the Final Fantasy series, whose name I am blanking on. The sky ship captain dude. Sid. Yeah, Sid is a through line in almost all the Final Fantasy games.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I don't think Finn might get name dropped in one or the other of the Burning Chrome stories. I'm pretty sure he doesn't appear in Johnny Mnemonic, the short story.
Right. I mean, it might be as much as a quick reference.
Yeah.
Some story that you don't really. I mean, you probably would notice, but maybe we'll see him again. We'll do more William Gibson stories.
Yeah. Anyway, this chapter, I don't know, kind of breaks my fucking heart, but is also so hopeful at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this isn't the Finn's final form.
No, it is not. So, Sally shows up. The Finn refers to her as Molly.
Mm-hmm. Which is when I connected it, I'm fucking dumb.
Actually, let me bring up that text message.
Oh God.
It's pretty good bit of business. Okay, so Eric hits chapter 22. God damn it, where'd that text go? Oh, there it is. Okay, Eric hits chapter 22 and texts me, let's see. Am I following this right? The Finn is a ghost in a machine and Sally is Molly? I respond, yup. He says, nice. I respond, and he has a laser.
He did.
Eric responds, and vodka. Me? And cocaine sometimes.
Yeah, he did. He had vodka that Sally or Molly took a swig of.
Yeah. So Finn's living a pretty good life. People come to him for business advice. So Molly explains what her situation is. And I'm probably going to alternate between Molly and Sally, saying Molly and Sally for the rest
That's fine. The book does too.
Yeah.
Because Kumiko knows her as Sally and refuses to change, and everybody else knows her as Molly.
Yeah. So, a lot of explaining going back and forth, and Kumiko isn't entirely tracking it all, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about shit from 2 books ago and 3 books ago.
Yeah, we get Neuromancer closure, man. Closure.
Yeah, we really do. So it turns out that 3 Jane is after Molly, and it seems like this whole thing is 3 Jane's fault, except maybe she's dead. And it's just just lawyers and her will and programs doing stuff because she said she wanted it done. It turns out that Case is all the way out. He's got a couple of kids.
Happy ending for Case.
Yeah, Case got a happy ending. And Sally explains what happened, that she just thought there wasn't a future there and it was her time to, she needed to go. And
kind of sad, but
kind of abandon him, but at the same time it's
seems like it worked out for Case.
Yeah, he's happy and whatever. So we get a lot of explanation of kind of the meta plot and why Sally is involved with this, because she had been living a pretty stable life, managing a casino in Germany.
Yeah.
And also, she got out and obviously did a bunch of fucking blood fighting shit.
Molly Millions fucking rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet
that
I
is
bet she smokes black
underselling it.
cigarettes.
That is underselling it by a huge margin.
Molly
she
and
is,
Lucy would definitely hang.
yeah. Yeah, she is beyond the definition of rules somehow. um,
Who would? I'll talk about it at the end. But who would? I need to know who would play Molly, other than, who played Jane. God,
Dina Myers.
Dina Meyer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I picture her. I have to.
Yeah, fair. Honestly, you know who would have been a fucking great Molly in 1995?
Hmm.
Shit. Her name just left my brain. Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, she would have been a whip-ass Molly.
Yeah,
um,
not wrong.
yeah. Okay, so we get a lot of explanation of, okay, so a lot of shit that's going on is because of 3 Jane. There's also the Yakuza War, which is sort of a sideline. But 3 Jane is pulling Molly into this. And
is it just a grudge she's holding against her from Neuromancer? I couldn't ever figure out the motivations of 3 Jane in this book. That was one of the connections I had trouble making.
That's understandable because she's sort of like,
she's rich.
To some extent.
Like, the rich are crazier than AI. That was established in Neuromancer.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like she kind of doesn't have any, except that, from a certain viewpoint, Molly fucked her over 15 years ago.
Yeah, and she's not. I mean, she may or may not be not an actual person.
Yeah, it's kind of, again, we come back to this, a regular Gibson theme that the extraordinarily rich are no more human than, incredibly advanced AIs. I mean,
which, man, wonder, let's say Gibson was a, 20-year-old now looking to write Neuromancer and cyberpunk didn't exist, but everything else was the same. Would he treat the rich with would he give them as much credit? God damn, the rich are stupid.
I think the thing is to make it, the thing is, like, this is not a smart plot. Like,
true.
Lady 3 Jane is not she is not a goddamn genius. Yeah. This is like, oh boy, if I can fuck over these people, that'd be really cool.
That's true. That's true. They make her. She feels kind of mysterious because of the circumstances of how she exists.
Yeah.
But you're right. What she's doing isn't like high level intrigue.
Yeah, and you'll find out, like, in future Gibson books, especially I'm thinking of the Blue Ant trilogy. A very recurring character in those books is, hyper rich and regarded as super smart and just an utter genius. And he doesn't have any better idea of what's going on than anybody else. He's just kind of an idiot who throws his money at stuff and makes things happen and then mostly lucks into making money out of it.
That's what rich people do.
Yeah. And
it's easy to make money when you have a shit ton of money to gamble with, basically.
It's not, and I think Gibson's whole position is, not only are they more, just as alien as weird fucking AI, they're just as stupid as people.
Yeah.
And just
the worst of both worlds.
Just as blinkered as most people.
Yeah. All right, pressing on.
Okay, to finish up this chapter, we've got there's a couple of my favorite lines in the entire goddamn book in here. Molly is talking to Finn and Kumiko, and this is all seen through Kumiko's viewpoint. She doesn't exactly understand or follow what's going on, because, again, we're talking about Neuromancer shit.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I pulled out to quote was, but did it wake, Kumiko wondered, when the alley was empty? Did its laser vision scan the silent fall of midnight snow?
Damn. Yeah,
because that goes back to
I remember that
what
line.
Yeah, that goes back to what Dixie talked about in Neuromancer, how he had no consciousness when Case wasn't accessing him.
Right, and Colin mentions that
Yeah.
kind of later.
Yeah,
Classic cyberpunk philosophical questions.
yeah, and honestly, of those characters, I mean, I'd think that the Finn would be the one who would
Yeah.
note the silent falling snow, but maybe not. I mean, maybe he's just not there. Yeah, it's this Bill Gibson guy. He's a pretty okay. He can put together an okay fucking sentence.
Well, it's stuff like this that has made this genre more than just,
Yeah,
like horror or like a genre like that, like westerns. I don't know. The philosophy of cyberpunk is fascinating and kind of creepy when you dig into it. Humanity is interesting, and as our technology advances, what will we sacrifice?
Yeah. Let's see. In the rest of the chapter, we've got an offhand mention that Pryor, who
we hate,
we haven't mentioned in this storyline. Like Kumiko's never heard of Pryor or met her, or met him. It's mentioned that Pryor works for Swain.
Mm-hmm.
He's from the Mona storyline at this point. We've had no connection there at all.
So we know that Swain is architecting, is the architect of whatever's happening to Mona.
To some extent, yeah, absolutely. And then there's a really good line about sort of demythologizing, because at a certain point, Kumiko has started painting Molly in these pictures. I'll just read the line. Molly is demythologized. Jesus Christ, I should not be on beer for. Okay, quote. There were no Ronin, no wandering samurai. Sally and the Finn were talking business. Because up until this point, she's been romanticizing Molly, wow, she's this cool fucking lady with fucking razor hands and mirror shades, and she just walks the earth like Kane from Kung Fu, doing what's right and doing fucking blood sport or whatever.
Yeah.
And she realizes at this point that no, they're talking fucking business. And then we get a direct tie from this to Count Zero, where at the very end of the chapter, Finn explains, 8 years ago, there was all this stuff. I was involved in all this stuff involving some voodoo guys from uptown and this console cowboy from out in Jersey. And they were all convinced that there was something lurking out there in the middle of the Matrix that was beyond what we understood. And Sally's like, oh yeah? And the last line of the chapter is, you know what, Maul? They're right.
Yeah, I noted that line when I was listening to it and thought that it might be worth quoting. Because it did kind of send a little chill down.
Yeah.
When you're reading it.
There is
because the Finn's the fucking oracle. If anybody's gonna know, he knows. It knows. Yeah,
at this point in the book, he has been explaining kind of what his existence is at this, as a ghost in the machine. And you know what? There are ghosts in here beyond what I am.
Yeah, it's a good line for sure. It's a good chapter.
I mean, I love this whole fucking book, but man, that chapter just, it is, like I said, heartbreaking and hopeful at the same time.
Yeah. All right, we are halfway to our tight 90. So do you think we can get through the second half of the book in 45 minutes?
Absolutely. Okay, chapter 23. Mona is recovering from her surgery to look like Angie.
And she does.
She has figured out that they're gonna do something like a snuff film.
Yeah,
with me
which is
as
smart.
the main character. Yeah, I mean, this is not
like you said, she's a smart girl. That's a very logical conclusion.
Yeah, she's come to a completely logical conclusion.
And she's realized that she's in danger and she needs to get out of here. But she got nice fucking teeth now.
Yeah,
she's going to keep those.
She's got great teeth, and she's fairly high. She's not totally high. She's smart enough to. She's been, sneaking her derms off. So she's not like totally incapacitated high.
I will say, Wiz sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes, probably not bad. I assume it's some sort of like, I don't know, amphetamine PCP, scenario.
Yeah, she says it makes everything interesting.
Yeah. So, that's that chapter. We're recovering from surgery. 24. Henry goes into the mansion in the LF. He meets a crazy woman, who is being fucking weird. Mm-hmm. There are some paragliders outside, and he meets a guy who says his name is Bobby. This is the Count.
This did not take me so long to figure out.
Okay, good.
Pretty much instantly knew that the guy on the stretcher was Bobby Newmark, and that the guy in the box was Bobby Newmark.
Yeah. So Bobby says, okay, so what the fuck's happening? And Henry explains the Kid Africa scenario and a little bit about what Gentry's doing and Gentry's ideas. And Bobby kind of tells him that, okay, so things are kicking off. If it looks like trouble is happening, plug me into the Matrix.
Yeah.
And that's like, there's a bunch of interesting stuff in that chapter, but it's hard, like, it's not stuff that necessarily deals with the plot of the book and isn't easy to explain. So
one thing I liked is that Bobby feels he knows he's putting these people in danger, and even though he doesn't know them, he cares for them, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby was a kid when we met him in Count Zero, and he's kept his empathy and his.
Yeah, I feel like a big part of it, and I don't know how much of this is me reading. How much of this is me reading into it, and how much is actually there to be absorbed. But I feel like Bobby understands that these people are, like when he's dealing with Henry and Gentry and everybody else. These people are the same kind of fucking trash that he was.
Yeah, it's true. He feels a kinship. And Cherry, who he never actually meets, but like Cherry is pretty dedicated to him.
Yeah, and that they shouldn't be punished because all this weird shit is swirling around him.
Yeah, it's definitely a kinship. And
yeah, I think that's a really good observation on your part.
Thank you. God damn it, I'm so good at this.
That's
start a fucking podcast.
That's not something that I had ever consciously come to on my own. So good job.
All right, I win.
Yeah, you did it. You absolutely did it. Yeah, we also get some flashes of Freeside, and or at least some descriptions that really sound like the Freeside we remember from Neuromancer.
Yeah.
So then Henry jacks out. And, chapter 25, Angie flies to New York. She gets interviewed by a tabloid person, and Porphyry drugs her. It's fun. She's a really shitty lady, and we don't like her.
Oh, yeah. God, I forgot about that chapter. She is just a piece of shit.
Yeah, she's fucking shit.
All right, there are a couple of characters. She put her up there with what's his name? The
Robin?
No, not Robin. Robin sucks too, but the guy that kidnaps Mona.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I saw when I was researching this, I saw on YouTube a mashup Moana Lisa Overdrive.
What? Okay, I have to fucking watch this.
It wasn't any. It was it was the music video, because there's a band that put out a song called Mona Lisa Overdrive, and it's used in the chase scene of the Matrix, the last Matrix.
Oh yeah, Juno Reactor, which is a
Juno
Final
Reactor.
Fantasy VII reference.
Yes, there's so much crossover.
Oh god, so many ties.
But it's that song with just a weird version of Moana dancing with the.
Okay.
It's a good pun. I'll put it that way. It's a good pun.
All right. I'm gonna have to get into that.
I'm desperately looking for some quote about or from or anything about this book to do a cold open with, but I just can't find anything.
Yeah. Sorry, my brain broke there for a second.
It's okay. Silence is great because Audacity removes it.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, Angie flies to New York, gets interviewed by a very shitty tabloid interviewer, and Porphyry drugs her. Then, chapter 26, Kumiko. She works through the plot she knows. Like, she kind of thinks about what she understands is happening. That her dad's in a conflict. Swain is definitely making some moves that are not related to that.
Yeah.
And what she learned from Sally and the Finn. Sally has put her back on a flight to London. Petal picks her up and takes her back to the townhouse, and she retrieves Colin. So then Colin plays back a conversation with Robin Lanier, who we've heard about in Angie's POV, and he is in on the plot to kidnap Angie, and also Sally is to be taken at the same time. Like, it's not okay, so they're setting up Sally is supposed to kidnap Angie, and then Angie and Sally are supposed to be taken to something.
Yeah.
Like, it's unclear what the end state of that is. It is very clear that Colin can figure out that Swain is much more powerful than he is. A whole bunch of people are visiting his place, including the head of Special Branch and like the foreign minister and things like that.
You also kind of skipped over when Sally parted ways with Kumiko. She like told her how to get in contact with her.
Oh yeah, she had told. Oh yeah. Oh okay. So yeah, I just skipped over that sentence. I did actually make a note. Sally explained how to get in contact with her through Tick.
Yeah, from the bar they'd visited earlier.
Yeah. So at the end of this chapter, Colin explains, like, okay, so if you want to get in contact with her, you'll need to figure something out. And Kumiko explains that she has 10 pounds on her, and Colin explains it takes 20 to make a local call.
Yeah, I know. Gibson was really leaning into inflation.
Yeah, which is one of the funnier sentences in like when you kind of do the mental math for that, like, oh, all right, that's sad and deeply hilarious.
This scene also is where when she brings Colin, when she comes back and finds Colin, and he's like, he tells her everything that's happened while she was gone.
Yeah.
But then has to explain that he wasn't actually present for all that, he's not actually present until she turned him on. He had just been recording, instantly evaluated all those recording and committed them to memory, and then explained them to her as if he was there, which I thought was kind of a neat way of describing how Colin works.
Well, and also it's it's a potential answer to the question that was asked
of the Finn.
So it all comes together. So chapter 27, Mona throws Pryor through a door And Molly throws Pryor through a door and retrieves Mona and says, "Hi, Gerald."
Yeah.
It turns out that people were unaware that Molly knew Gerald Chin. And Gerald explains, I was going to retire soon anyway, so see you later. Mona shocks the shit out of Pryor with the stun gun.
I really liked Pryor's ending.
Yeah.
It's very ambiguous.
Yeah, he gets solidly interrogated.
Yeah.
At
Molly,
this
who doesn't fuck around.
Yeah.
And then as they're leaving, Mona's like, what's going to happen to him? She's like, either he'll escape or he'll dehydrate.
Yep. He either escapes or dehydrates. No big deal.
Either way, not our problem.
Yep. Not an issue for us. Okay. Then, yeah, that's the end of that chapter. So we get
That's
Molly
what he
hooked up
deserved.
with
Let's be
Mona.
clear. Pryor sucked in a really boring suck.
Yeah,
like
he's
Eddie sucked in a cool way, and he kind of got what he deserved.
Yeah, he's not even an entertaining piece of shit kind of way. He's just kind of blah.
So yeah, tie him to a chair, beat the shit out of him, and then if he dies, he dies.
Yeah, if he dies, he dies. Exactly. This is exactly like fucking Rocky IV or Universal Soldier starring Dolph Lundgren.
This needs Dolph Lundgren in it. Who would he be? He would be
yeah. The judge?
He would be the judge.
Speaking of which, I saw apparently he's had lung cancer for the past 8 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bummer.
I think yesterday the news broke. He apparently was like 3 or 4 years ago. They told him it was 2 to 3 months fatal. And he's survived since then. But yeah.
Man, I pulled that clip of him at the red carpet of Universal Soldier. He looks so young and vital.
I know.
Say what you will about Dolph Lundgren. You gotta love the guy.
Look, it's hard to dislike the motherfucker.
He's been a through line through this podcast.
Absolutely. Even before this podcast.
Exactly. He's up there in our podcasting career with Josh Jackson.
Yes, absolutely. Probably referenced nearly as much.
Yeah. I had to get one Dawson's Creek reference in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, the TikTok wouldn't be accurate.
All right, moving on.
Okay, chapter 28. We're back to Henry. Bird returns. He's riding fucking Gentry's motorcycle. He fucking smashes it. He wipes
bird.
out instantaneously.
I thought that was because somebody was chasing him or
no.
He just is bad at
absolutely not. He is just ramping over fucking junk.
And he's high as shit.
Yes. I had because Henry gave him the bag of drugs to trade for the truck.
Yeah.
We forgot
bag of drugs, dude.
We forgot Chekhov's bag of drugs.
The bag of drugs is as big a character in this as a lot of the characters.
It's a bigger character than fucking Pryor, that's for sure.
True. More interesting too.
Yeah. He just comes ramping over a pile of fucking garbage on a dirt bike. Like, the only thing I can picture in this is the time that I was at a party in high school and drove a dirt bike through a bonfire. Just like, and he wipes out and like breaks some fucking ribs and is coughing blood. It's
I like
perfect.
how Cherry runs to his aid and he's like pushing her away, and then she says, "Fine, hemorrhage internally. I don't give a shit."
Yeah. It turns out that there were a bunch of mercs in fucking hovercraft, obviously, raiding the place he was supposed to go and get a truck.
I'm imagining Maine's team from Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they're more the kind of Max Tac uniformed types.
Yeah, it could be.
At least that's what I picture. But I don't know. Could be either way. They're not described, in any detail.
Other than their actions about what they do, which seems pretty.
They're pretty shitty. They've got a bad attitude.
Yeah.
So it turns out that mercs were raiding the place he was supposed to go get a truck. He turned around and ran away and did a bunch of drugs, and then wrecked the bike
And tosses the drugs on the floor.
Yeah.
Never to be seen again? Question.
No, certainly not. And then a chopper arrives overhead. Yeah, chopper arrives, and Henry says, "We got to get inside the warehouse. Shit's going bad."
Yeah.
He is concerned. So, chapter 29. Kumiko decides to go on a shopping trip, which is a fun trick that she mentally explains that she's done to her minders before.
Mm-hmm.
She goes on a shopping trip to a whole bunch of antique stores in some very awkward boots, and fakes a heel blowout and she has her bodyguard that Swain sent with her.
This is the scene that makes me feel like Kumiko's older than like 14.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
It feels more like a 16 or 17-year-old thing.
Okay, I could see that. I don't think it's insane for a 14-year-old, but
No.
Yeah, I could see that reading older. So yeah, she's got a bodyguard carrying a bunch of just random bulky shit she bought on Portobello Road. And then fakes a heel blowout, pulls her shoes off, and takes off fucking running in her little the sandal shoe, the Japanese sandal
rubber
shoes.
socks is how they were referred.
Yeah.
And her prime motivation right now, because she loves Sally.
Yeah.
Is that
understandably
she's got to warn Sally that she's in danger.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be double crossed by Swain.
Yes, exactly. Good. Good poll. I did not write that down because it's so obvious in my mind, but it is not necessarily obvious to anybody who hasn't read the book a dozen times.
Well, if somebody is this far with us and they haven't read the book, I mean, congrats. Thank you.
Yeah.
You should read this book.
Yeah, no shit.
This is not the best way to consume this story.
No, the book is much better written than us talking drunk.
This is some extra shit you do after you read it.
Yeah, this is.
Hey, don't back out now. Finish out the.
I recommend not listening to the commentary track before you watch the movie, but you do you.
Yeah.
So yeah, she wants to go and find Tick so she can contact Molly. And yeah, she runs. Chapter 30. So Angie arrives at her Wild Hotel, which is her favorite hotel in New York, which has been described previously by Mona as having a bunch of apparently fake, like a mountainside and some fake goats on it.
Oh, right.
It's a really interesting description. Like, apparently they built this hotel and faked an ecosystem on top of it, so it looks like Swiss mountainsides.
Yeah.
With a bunch of weird animatronic mountain goats because the actual goats died. But so yeah,
it makes it less cool, I guess.
Yeah. So Angie arrives in a helicopter at her fucking wild ass hotel, and then the door opens. Somebody in a red parka pops in and starts fucking shooting people, including Porphyry, with a tranq pistol. And it turns out that it's Molly.
I was scared. I was scared for Porphyry at this point.
Understandably,
because I liked him, and I thought, oh no,
mm-hmm.
Oh no, is he not going to make it? But thankfully, Molly explains that it's just temporary, and he'll wake up and be fine.
Yeah, she shoots a bunch of people with the tranq pistol. Apparently, it's a week ahead of schedule. The plan from Swain, etc., was to pick her up later in the week. Molly decided to short circuit it.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. At this point, as I was listening, and I was still in the right timeline at this point. I was not fully sure of Molly's motivations.
Yeah, that's understandable because Molly, even, as much as we saw her in Neuromancer, even though it feels like she was a viewpoint character in that, she wasn't.
She's not, yeah.
Um,
I feel like she's just gathering everybody together that she knows involved in this conspiracy and is trying to work shit out.
yeah, and the thing is, she's super smart, but she's also a very opaque character. Like, even though she will happily, a lot of the time, explain what exactly she's doing and is going on, I think she's maybe a little too threatening for people to ask her that.
Yeah.
So she's not going to offer explanations unless somebody says, asks.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So Molly jacks Angie a week ahead of schedule. Then, because that was, pretty exciting, we cut immediately back to Henry. He's jumped into the box, into the Aleph, and he goes through a bunch of stray light stuff, which when I was reading this, I remembered at one point he goes through a corridor and the flooring is just fragments of tiles all mortared down, and it's just a whole bunch of different tiles, just, pieces of them. And I remembered in this read very specifically trying to sell you and Steve on doing that for a small entryway that we had on one of our houses, probably at this point 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what if so we've got all these
like fractured mosaic.
Yeah, we've got all these fucking like half tiles and shit. And I bet they would work together. Like, it would take some work to lay them out correctly, but I bet it'd be really cool looking if we put all these tiles down.
I've seen it done. It's hard though, because you got to find.
Yeah,
you got to find the right pieces, or else you just have these big clumps of grout, which don't look as nice.
Yeah, clearly. But I when I was reading that part, I was like, oh yeah, I remember trying to sell you guys on that on I think it was 28th Street.
I remember the conversation.
Yeah, I was like, no, this would look really cool.
Trust me, I read about it in a book.
Yeah, I think that might have actually been about the time that we almost named the company Tiger Cap.
Oh God, that would have been sick.
Tiger Cap with a K.
Oh man,
there is a reference from Mike and only Mike.
Only Mike. Yeah.
Love you, buddy. Okay, so Henry runs into 3 Jane. He goes into a Korsakov's scenario and starts blacking out. We get a little.
So has he already done the part where they show the Korsakov scenario from where they read it, where it's described from his point of view, where they like say like he's where he asks like where's Gentry like 4 times. I think that was earlier in the book. I think that was the first time after the
that was after the tentacularness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to call back to that because I thought that was cool in an audiobook format. It was very confusing, which was the intention of it.
It's not unconfusing in writing if you don't know what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. So he ends up getting to Bobby. And Bobby explains kind of what's going on. He stole the Aleph from 3 Jane, but she's also in here. But she's dead in reality. Everything that she is doing is, like I said earlier, her like will and lawyers and companies that are just continuing to exist and run on the tracks that she set them on.
Yeah, she spent her family's fortune building this box, basically, right?
Yeah. This is based on some stuff we learn later. It's maybe the largest single data construct in the world.
It's funny because 3Jane's a ghost, and even like Tessier Ashpool is kind of a ghost.
Yeah, it's just stumbling along. It hasn't been what it was since the end of Neuromancer.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Still a great name though.
oh yeah, it really is. So yeah, everything's run by lawyers. Like everybody that's after Bobby and Sally, like don't actually have any investment in it. They're just getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
He also explains at this point that, and Henry doesn't understand it, but that the Loa are fading together and changing, and things are getting a bit weirder than they were 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to have the power that they once did, and it turns out that once Henry explains Gentry's ideas, that like Gentry is not far off of the truth.
Yeah.
In one way or another. And Bobby reiterates, okay, I need to be connected to the Matrix because helicopters are showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 32, Kumiko gets mugged by Jack Dracula's.
Jack Dracula's, yes.
Yes, because she is a foreigner. And Colin breaks during the course of this, but Kumiko escapes because she has the Walther pellet pistol and scares the living shit out of fucking, nationalist English punks. Pieces of shit.
They're cowards. At the heart of it,
yeah,
they're
they
all
are.
cowards.
They really are. Yeah, so that's about that chapter, even though it's scary, and she's riding the tube and she bails and escapes fares. Cool. Good for her.
Yeah.
Chapter 33. Chapter 33, Mona is waiting in the car. She's just hanging out in a fucking sleeping bag in a car on top of a 20-story parking garage. She sees this weird hotel that she had seen from her hotel room. This weird hotel is the one with a mountain on the side of it. Mm-hmm. And Molly said, stay here and don't run the heater because that might run the battery down and then we'd be fucked. So then Molly lands a chopper basically in her fucking lap.
This was very confusing as I was listening to it too. It was goes from Mona's in danger to, oh wait, no, I guess Molly got her hands on a fucking helicopter.
Yeah, Molly stole the helicopter that Angie landed in and then decided to steer it took it a few blocks away and landed on this parking garage where she'd already planned and left her getaway vehicle.
Molly, it's pretty cool. I don't know if we've made that.
Molly fucking rules. Then Molly drags Angie into the car. Mona is amazed because Angie
Mona's fucking starstruck.
Yeah, I mean, understandably. And they zip down the parking garage, change over into, you'll be surprised to learn, a hovercraft.
Mm-hmm.
And then go fucking crashing out with fucking pyro, and she blew a wall out to drive the hover away. Because Molly notes that I don't remember what exactly she said, but basically Porphyry's going to be waking up soon, and if Net Security had parafoils or anything, they'll be on top of the building by now anyway. Yeah. So we gotta bail. And they fucking bail.
What else bails at this point? My next 90 minutes of audio.
Okay. All right.
I'm pretty sure this is the spot.
That's certainly possible. Okay, chapter 34. Kumiko's looking for Tick's house. She's just kind of wandering around. She runs into a Japanese noodle seller, and he gives her directions. She finds Tick. He explains that something is happening on the net and nobody understands what's going on. It is a, quote, very large data construct has appeared on the edge of the sprawl.
And this is because they jacked Bobby in.
Yeah, this is because they apparently succeeded in jacking Bobby in. It's like suddenly out of the middle of nowhere, a gigantic skyscraper. Because in these books, as have been mentioned many times, the data has a physical presence on the net, and this thing is like a fucking skyscraper that instantly appeared in the middle of nowhere and dwarfs everything around it.
He described it as like even the biggest corporations don't start big on the net. They grow over time.
Yeah.
They start off, relatively reasonable and get bigger and bigger. This is just a massive obelisk that appears out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which is pretty ominous.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, if you were imagining it appearing in a movie or something, it would not seem prime. Like suboptimal for the way things are. Tick, at this point, he explains to Kumiko that he is aware of what's going on with Sally and that Swain is selling her out to 3 Jane. So, I guess that's Kumiko. Like, he knows that. He's pretty sure Molly knows that, and Kumiko Kumiko's mission is accomplished, I guess.
Yeah, but this whole chapter, Kumiko adorably brings all conversations back to Sally.
Yes. Yeah, she really has a serious crush on Sally, which fucking understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, Sally is a tough character to beat.
Right. We have crushes on Sally or Molly because she fucking rules, but Kumiko had one because, she ruled, but she was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, she
not in like I'm nice to you because your father can have me killed. I'm just nice to you because that's what people are.
Yeah, Sally treated her like a person. That's my that's my byword in teaching. Like all the kids I teach, and I think it's the thing that has consistently gotten me really, really good reviews. Mm-hmm. I treat people like they're fucking people and not just fonts or not just blank pages that I'm supposed to throw knowledge at.
When are you going to start that with me?
Yeah. Good question. Yeah.
Maybe someday. Hey, I'll be a font until then.
Yeah. Okay. So, and Tick says, "Oh, hey, what's the deal with she?" Kumiko explains, Colin broke, and Tick's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we can fix that." So we'll get to that next chapter.
We don't even just fix that; we can figure out what this dude's about.
Yeah. Then chapter 35 is called "The Factory War."
Yeah. This was important stuff to have missed.
Yeah, it's not unimportant. Let's go with that.
I can say this might have been my favorite chapter. I don't know. It's definitely the most action packed.
It is a solid fucking bit of business. I mean,
because those robots were going to get used at some point. He's building a robot called Corpse Grinder. It's not just going to sit in the basement.
Yeah, it's there's I pulled a quote out of this one too. Yeah. So we get a little bit of backstory on how Bobby came to be there, when he left Angie and how he fucking jacked this LF from 3 Jane's people, and how he's been in hiding ever since then. And kind of went through Kid Africa's hands and stuff like that. Then some mercs show up in some nice Honda hovercrafts. Demand that they hand over Bobby and all his shit.
Yeah. I liked the mercs.
Yeah, the main guy who was speaking through the megaphone, like, it's kind of incredible because the guy is obviously not a character.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have a name.
No.
He's never physically described. He's just a guy yelling, like he's just a disembodied voice through a megaphone.
I was
But
kind of
he-
picturing him as Maine from.
But
from
he has a
Runners.
really specific fucking voice. He's like a full character,
Yeah,
even though all he has is some monologue lines.
I enjoyed the. Well, you'll get to what poor stupid little bird does.
Yeah. Oh, poor guy. Um, yeah. So the Mercs show up, demand Bobby and all his shit. Little Bird deciding that he's going to defend.
He's gonna be a hero.
He's going to be a hero and defend it. He pops into the window with the 22. He uses to shoot rabbits and pheasants or pigeons or something, and then a laser pops up on his cheekbone that Henry sees, and his head blows up.
Yeah. At which point the merc basically says, "Fuck it, you had your chance.
Fuck you
Kill you
guys.
all."
Yeah, we're coming in. Then things get a little Korsakovsky.
Yeah.
So Gentry uses the investigator against one of Henry's battle bots against the military hover with its fucking thermite lance, which is one of my favorite. Like, it's almost a thermite lance is almost a literary device in my mind. Like, that's a thing that, like, it'll cut through anything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
they'll poke right into anything.
yeah, it's got a fucking scorpion tail with a thermite lance on it, and it's burning through this hover. And then finally, the lance gets disabled, and the claws are having trouble getting through the fucking armored curtain. And then Henry figures out that there's a flamethrower on it. And I pulled this quote out specifically. Slick watched, fascinated, as the investigator ignited 10 liters of detergent-laced gasoline, a sustained high-pressure spray. He'd gotten that nozzle, he remembered, off a pesticide tractor. It worked okay. End of chapter.
So, like, Henry didn't really know why he was building these things, right?
Yeah, he just had a compulsion to build stuff that
Is it
are
explained? Was something encouraging him?
That is certainly, if that's the case, it is never even hinted at.
You know, there are only 3 types of people in the world. There's investigators, there's witches, and there's judges.
Which, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Henry is kind of based on an artist named Mark Pauline, who he started a thing called Survival Research Laboratories that builds giant robots. It's kind of a thing. He's from San Francisco. And I, if it is hinted at that Henry was inspired by something else, that's not something I'm aware of. But
Yeah, I was waiting for that reveal. It never really came.
I
I feel
I
like
don't
it
know.
could have been.
It certainly could have been, but I've always read it as just, this guy had something weird done to his brain, and now he has a compulsion to put shit together.
Yeah.
And I mean, I fucking get it, dude.
I do too. It's just what
Yeah.
boggles my mind is that they're such effective killing machines, and literally it's at a later chapter when he sees the witch like covered in blood, and he says she was
Yeah.
never meant to do that. Like,
Yeah.
it just makes me wonder.
Yeah, I that's a very reasonable and understandable point. Okay, so then I just love the way it worked okay. And that's the end of the fucking chapter.
that's good.
Like his fucking invention has thermite lanced a military Hummer and then filled it with a flamethrower. It worked okay. Cut to Angie in the hovercraft. Turns out that Maman Brigitte told her to trust Molly, and Angie then dreams the climax of Neuromancer, basically, but narrated by Legba. So she's getting the full Loa back.
Yeah.
He makes
How Angie got her Loa back.
yeah, exactly. Legba makes the subtext text in explaining the backstory of her and the net up to and since Wintermute and Tessier Ashpool.
Mm-hmm.
Like Wintermute and Neuromancer merged and then fractured, and the TA, the whole thing, I guess. And her father traded access to her brain for the ability to invent the biotech chip. Which is hinted at a bit in Count Zero, and I don't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast, but something that Turner says, and Turner gets name checked in this chapter, but sadly he never appears in the book, although probably happily for him.
Yeah, I would like to have had a little Turner denouement, figure out what happened to him.
Yeah, I think he's happy in
Mexico.
Yeah, wherever with a kid, and
Hope so.
Yeah, I hope Turner got out okay.
Maybe he hangs out with Case every once in a while.
Yeah, he mentions at one point in Count Zero that the strange thing about Christopher Mitchell, Angie's father, is that he doesn't have the arc of a genius that Turner normally sees in people he extracts.
Mm-hmm.
He goes from just a dude struggling along to suddenly there's this, he makes this huge advancement.
Yeah.
There's not the trail, there's not the normal course of impressive, amazing.
Yeah, the Musk course.
It goes from dude to suddenly amazing shit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Type 90 has been passed, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure. So, her father traded her brain for the biochip, and the drug she was on reshaped her brain to break her of the Loa. And this was all on the orders of Continuity, the Sensenet AI.
Right.
Why did Continuity do this? It's not entirely clear, but it's the problem, at least from the Loa's perspective, is that Continuity is too young.
He's a newbie, yeah.
Yeah, it's a younger generation than the Loa, so it doesn't understand the importance of them, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, the Continuity, the whole character was kind of a mystery to me.
Yeah, he's relatively unexplained, and I think towards the end, at the end of the book, it works out okay for it, because I think it honestly feels like it's just doing dumb kid shit.
Yeah.
Which is a funny thing for a, controlling a corporation AI to be doing, but whatever. Okay, chapter 37, Tick fixes Colin. It turns out that Colin explains that Swain is reordering fucking everything in London because he has suddenly gotten a huge amount of power. The government is changing because Swain suddenly has info on everybody.
Right.
And it turns out Tick, kind of pokes around and figures out that Colin doesn't know fucking anything about Shakespeare or Dickens.
Even though he thinks he does.
Which is a little funny for a glorified tour guide.
Yeah. I thought that was a good thing.
Yeah. They attempt to find Sally through the net.
Well, We're glossing over, but Tick's pretty cool in this.
Yeah, he really is. He's doing his best. Like, okay, this is Sally's friend, and or the girl who was with Sally. So, and she's clearly connected to some powerful people. So I'm going to treat her right and
Just being a good dude.
Yeah, not go dicking around.
Yeah.
So they're going to attempt to contact Sally through the net. They get almost immediately fucking ambushed by ice. Heading towards the huge mysterious data construct that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Kumiko's mother, accusing her of causing her suicide, and a lot of very hurtful psychological shit.
Yeah.
And then she seriously damages Tick, and then Colin arrives as a horse.
Colin just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, Colin is more powerful than this thing, and it turns out that this thing, in the form of Kumiko's mother, is actually 3Jane, who is just being a shit.
And Colin gives her a strong dose of being a shit right back to her.
Yeah,
he's just being a sarcastic, wisecracking. I don't know. I like Colin.
He really does. Yeah, he does a good job. And then Molly calls them from the Jersey Turnpike.
Yeah.
Okay, so chapter 38. We're back at the factory. The hovercraft is still burning. Bobby appears as Max Headroom on a monitor to Henry.
Not together, but that's true.
Yeah. Cherry says he's dying, which
she says spends most of the book talking about how Bobby's dying.
Yeah. He's not in great shape. So Bobby's arranged a diversion in form of a cargo drone. Slick and Cherry, Bobby's like, okay, you gotta get the fuck out of here. This shit is going very badly. And Slick Henry and Cherry prepare to bail. They're gonna go out a hole in the wall out the back. And like I said, Bobby has arranged a diversion. This diversion turns out to be a cargo drone that drops refrigerators from high altitude onto the hovercraft, which is some of the funniest shit I've ever read in my life.
If you've ever moved a refrigerator, you might realize how devastating that would actually be.
Yeah, my note on this part is all caps, appliance. A bunch of refrigerators just fall from effectively space onto this military hovercraft that a guy is yelling and shooting at them from.
Remember when we almost dumped a refrigerator out the back of my truck on the interstate?
Oh, yeah. Good times.
It was a horrifying thing to see in the rear view.
Yeah, just
probably not as horrifying as the car behind me to see in his front view.
Yeah, that wasn't great. Wasn't great at all. So they're Slick and Cherry are attempting to sneak out. Suddenly, there's appliances all over the place.
Slick and Cherry are also bonding a little bit.
Yeah, they really are.
Of a connection here between.
That's I have not played that up as much as it should be.
They've basically been the only. Like, Gentry's been in and out doing his Gentry thing, but Slick and Cherry have been pretty much together the whole book.
Yeah. And they're clearly, both sane people.
Yeah. Although, apparently Henry needs a fucking shower. They bring that up a couple times.
Yeah, that pops up 2 chapters from now. 3 chapters from now. So they, because suddenly shit's going down badly outside, they go back inside to the warehouse, and Molly arrives, threatening.
Yeah.
It turns out that in the middle of the appliancing, Molly has crashed her hover into the backside of the warehouse.
Molly arrives much like Turner arrived at the end of Count Zero, just kind of crashes through a wall and is like, I'm a part of this now.
Sup, bitches. She threatens everybody immediately because she doesn't know who anybody is. She just knows there's some guy with some hardware upstairs that I gotta talk to and
Right.
deliver Angie to. And she mentions that she's cut a deal to wipe her slate clean by reuniting Bobby and Angela.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at, chapter 39. Mona had a pretty upsetting ride in the hover.
Yeah, she did.
Angie's doing a lot of very scary voices. And it's a lot of talking about going to a marriage. And Molly is taking direction from the scary voices that Angie is making.
The scariest one was called Samedi.
Sam Eddy. In the book, it is spelled SAM M capital EDDY. Sam Eddy.
Wow, I really feel like the narrator could have played that up a little more because it was pronounced like Samedi.
Yeah,
the narrator, but yeah,
understandable. But yeah, so yeah, then they suddenly out of nowhere crash through a warehouse wall. And Mona gets out of the hovercraft and meets Cherry, and Cherry's like, she's got these multiple jackets on, and that's kind of a Cleveland thing that Mona recognizes.
Yeah.
They get up to the room where there's this guy on a stretcher who looks real sick.
Oh, and what's this laying on the ground?
Yes, it happens to be Chekhov's bag of drugs. And everything gets real awkward once everybody's in the room upstairs. So Mona decides, fuck it, I'll do some whiz. I'll grind up a couple of crystals.
That scene was hilarious because everybody's like awkward standing around. Molly's got her guns out. And
who the fuck is everybody? And Mona's like, well, this is fucking awkward. Rail?
So that's so great. Mona rules.
Yeah, she's a fucking good girl.
Yeah.
Then Molly shoots somebody behind her back and the catwalk collapses. So they're trapped upstairs.
Yeah.
Chapter 40, we're back to Angie. She sees a lot of the same stuff in the room upstairs. Except now she's seeing everything. Her brain has rewired itself, so she's seeing things like background checks on everybody in the fucking room. Like, she knows every scam Molly's been involved with, and sees the records of Gentry hacking the Fusion Authority to get free power and stuff like that. Just everybody.
Her Neo moment.
Yeah, she understands. She can see the Matrix inside everything in the real world.
Right.
And let's see. So then at this point, Gentry fires up the judge, and the judge starts dismembering mercs on the floor of the factory. It is apparently wild. And then Angie cuts to a beach with Mama Brigitte and Continuity, who are leading her to her wedding.
Yeah.
Chapter 41. Kumiko and Tick. The Colin unit has, burned up.
But Tick's like, don't worry about it. He's in there now. He's good.
Yeah. Kumiko's dad calls. On the landline.
Yeah, this was I liked this scene. It's basically Kumiko's wrap up, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There's a little more, but yeah.
Her dad seems like a nice guy, for a criminal mastermind.
Yeah, I could totally see him being played by fucking Takeshi Kitano.
Yeah, because he basically played the same character in Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, it'd be great. He's got a new movie coming out later this year. It looks fucking wild.
Nice.
Bunch of samurai just fucking destroying things.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's promising. It's I read some stuff. Apparently, it might be his last movie.
Oh,
So yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah, so Kumiko's dad calls. Everything is taken care of. Swain is no longer an issue. Tick gets thanked very specifically, and Kumiko's father explains that he owes Tick a huge debt of gratitude.
yeah,
And
that makes Tick swell with pride.
yeah, he made some very fucking smart choices in this.
He did. Yeah. Like I said, Gibson kind of rewards the people making smart choices and punishes those that aren't in this book.
Yeah, and one of the last things with Kumiko's father is Kumiko asks if her father allowed her mother's suicide because her mother had apparently slipped out of the apartment and gone on and drowned herself, past however many secretaries and bodyguards and whatever. And she suspected that her father allowed and maybe even encouraged it somehow. Yeah. And her father says that he did not. And she believes him.
Yeah, it was written in such a way that it was clear that he wasn't lying.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I got the impression this is probably the first time they talked about her mother since it happened.
I totally believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dealing with an emotional, coming from emotionally stunted people myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally believe that. Then Petal arrives to take Kumiko home, and he is the new boss in London. So that's great.
Good for Petal.
Yeah. Okay, that's the end of that. Chapter 42. Mona sees everything resolve.
This is where I cut back. This is.
Oh my god! Fucking chapter 42 is where you came back. Holy shit! Yeah, that would have been very confusing.
So I cut from Kumiko looking for Tick to this.
Boy, huh? Okay, so Angie is dead.
Yeah, like immediately, like it went from Angie and Mona like talking to Angie being dead. I was like, what did I miss?
Wild. I imagine that would be insane. Yeah, so Angie is dead, crouched by the side of the stretcher that Bobby was on. The mercs are all dead. There's another chopper coming in from somewhere. Molly takes the fuck off into the hover. With Henry, Cherry, and the judge.
The judge carrying the
that's actually the next chapter.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody takes off except for fucking Mona, and we don't really know what happened with Gentry. He's still there.
He just wanted to stay. He just didn't want to leave.
Yeah. He's still there, but it's basically Mona and a shitload of corpses in Gentry.
Yeah. So Mona's like, I should probably go.
Yeah, I should duck out. And slides down a rope from the loft, and then she runs into this really tall, amazing-looking black guy,
bald with incredible eyes.
Yeah,
symmetrical features.
Yeah, and also Hilton Swift, and Mona explains that I'm not her. Because obviously she knows she looks like Angie.
Mm-hmm.
And Porphyry says, I know, don't worry, it grows on you. And
it's a great ending for
it really is. She's gonna be okay. I mean, it feels
as much as anyone exploited in that situation can be okay, but it's a step up from the fucking Florida hovel she was living in.
Yeah, and right at the very end of the chapter, it's mentioned that she doesn't mention that she had seen Angie and Bobby walking into the distance on the beach on the monitor together.
Right.
So apparently the wedding happened.
I guess.
Whatever that was. Chapter 43. Henry and Molly load the LF onto the hover with the judge.
I did want to point out, like, I don't know, just is it Purefroy? I don't know how you say his name.
I don't know. What's
The hairdresser?
Porphyry.
Porphyry. Okay, I swear my guy said it different.
It's spelled Porphyre. It's a stone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just really liked how he came in and picked up Mona, and then I really liked Hilton's ending too. He was just the way it was described was very anime like, with like his coat flapping in the wind and his tie.
Yeah, you're right. It really is. I had never thought about that before, but yeah, I'm remembering those lines, and yeah, you're exactly right. Perfect. Good job.
It's a very picturesque ending for the titular character.
Yeah, that's true. She's gonna do okay. Yeah, she'll be fine. Yeah, so the next chapter, Henry and Molly load the LF onto the hover with the judge. The judge is carrying the LF.
Yeah.
Molly has him rig some solar panels to the LF and then takes off into the dog solitude with the judge carrying it and its solar panels, and the idea being that it'll sustain itself for, half a year or so at least. And then Molly just wants to be fucking alone for a while.
Yeah.
And
tells Cherry and Slick to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, they decide to head to Cleveland, and Henry needs to get a goddamn shower.
Yeah. Apparently, if Henry would bathe and get a haircut, he'd clean up nice.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to think of who would play Slick Henry.
Yeah, that's yeah. And we'll come to that in a minute.
We gotta hurry. We're 2 hours, dude.
Hey, we've only got 2 chapters left. Okay, chapter 44 is closure for Kumiko, which is really just her considering what has happened and her relationship with Sally, and how she's going back home now, and things are going better.
Yeah.
So that's all my description for chapter 44.
She's gonna be fine too.
Yeah, she will. Chapter 45 is very short. It's also wildly interesting.
Very weird.
It's Angie and Bobby inside the fucking box.
Yeah.
Then Colin and Tick and a young Japanese girl are on a horse because they were in the LF for a hot minute. Angie finds out that the Finn cannot be denied entrance to the mansion. He's gonna come in one way or the other. So let's see that. What's he call it? That New Jersey shit. Is that New Jersey shit in there? Because the Finn wants to see Bobby. 3 Jane wanders around sad.
Yeah.
We get a little flash of Mona doing very well. She is now a SimSense star.
A bigger star than Angie, I believe they say.
Yeah. Her viewpoint is fresh and new and exciting. Turns out that Robin Lanier was strangled at the fancy mountain hotel.
Yeah.
And nobody speculates very deeply as to whose long, strong fingers closed around his neck. Which is it's a one single line that that sells it.
Right.
And then in the end, there's going to be a road trip. Angie, Bobby, Colin, and the Finn head off to see the other.
All our favorite ghosts and constructs.
Yeah, which
like a road trip to Alpha Centauri.
Yeah, because as you might recall, when Neuromancer and Wintermute merged, they found another out there, And it wasn't another human constructed AI.
Right.
It was something else. So they end up off to see the other.
What an ending. I feel like we could almost do a third episode on like the Sprawl Trilogy as a whole and its wrap up and what everything means.
Yeah.
But it's a crazy fucking ending.
It is a good bit of business. I don't know. It's one of those things where, as I've explained before, I've kind of lost all perspective on it because it's just such a part of my goddamn brain.
Yeah.
But okay, so once upon a time, I heard somebody say, and I think it was about The Clash, that, okay, any asshole in the world can debate who's the first punk band? Where did punk start?
Mm-hmm.
But literally not a human alive has that debate about anybody after The Clash. Like, The Clash is... You can't say anybody who happened after that invented punk. Like, they're the absolute latest fucking moment you could possibly say, here are punk attributes, and tie them together. And we can have plenty of arguments about what's the first cyberpunk short stories and novels and what, this guy was writing in 1968 and it talked about technology and whether people had souls and if artificial intelligence was, equal to a person and so on and so forth. But there is literally not a person alive who could argue that anything like, nobody can argue after Neuromancer and the Sprawl Trilogy. Like, nobody can say, oh, the first cyberpunk book came out in 1988. Yeah. Like, it would be insane and stupid to say that.
Right, yeah.
And it's infected my brain that much, so I don't know.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a speech that's been in my brain for many years, I'm sure. And it just decided to pop out now.
I think it's a fitting way to cap it off because I would have probably more to say if we weren't 5 hours into recording this thing.
Yeah, we're past midnight.
I wish I had more brain because I kind of feel like the ending of this deserves I don't know what it deserves. It's ambiguous and it lets your mind wander at the possibilities, but never really followed up upon, which is great.
I think it's great. Yeah, I don't like, as much as I would love to know more about the adventures of fucking Molly and Finn and what's Slick Henry get up to, and
wish
everybody
just an inkling of Turner. Just
like,
what's Turner doing?
But at the same time, I'm totally I'm totally cool that this ended this way, and they're off to see the other somewhere, and Case is living his life with 3 kids, and fucking Finn has a laser. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things, like, I would love to know more, but at the same point, I don't need it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Pedal got his comeuppance.
Pedal won, man. Nice guy.
Eddie's luggage, probably still at the airport.
Yeah, that luggage.
Oh man, we did it. I don't think we have time to cast this thing. Maybe we can speculate on that on Twitter. If you've listened this far, tweet at Johnny60 seconds.
I don't know. Maybe we'll come back with a third part follow up. I don't know. Maybe our listeners will have thoughts on.
That's true. We have a month or so before our next real episode. I'm hopefully going to have some filler stuff to put in that'll be entertaining. I think I'm gonna release the Cyber Vengeance watch along to the wide world of our listeners.
Good luck, folks.
But we're not going to be able to
Hopefully it's
actually,
easier to listen to than it was to survive.
we're not going to be able to actually record anything for a month or so. And we haven't decided what we're going to do. A Sprawl Trilogy wrap-up might be interesting. We'd have to kind of structure it so that we could fill the full amount of time in it and not repeat ourselves too much.
Yeah, what audience, please send us questions or something on I don't know, questions,
Thoughts?
comments, thoughts.
Dick
Cause
pic? No, wait, no, none of those.
yeah, sure, why not? Who cares? Hanging dong, baby.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It might be worth it.
Yeah,
It's an important. It's important to the genre we're covering.
yeah, it really is, and also like not only is it important, it's also the whole thing is really well written, like which is not an
Arguably.
automatic.
Sorry.
It's not an automatic. Like, things can be very important to a genre, but still be kind of.
I will say we are probably going to take a break from Gibson, cover some other authors in our book episodes. So,
yeah.
Get ready for that. But we got to kill this episode.
We
It's
got
2
to
hours,
fucking bail. Yeah.
and Josh has to go to bed so he can fucking drive a long way.
Yeah. That's actually the day after tomorrow, but
I know,
yeah.
but, well,
yeah.
It's 12 a.m. It's tomorrow.
Oh, good point. Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah, I gotta finish packing and then drive 12 hours to fucking Midland, Texas, to then follow that up with another 3.5 hours to go dig some square holes in the desert and die.
I'm gonna play some video games and probably edit some podcasts.
Well, good luck with that. I'm sorry I provided so much extra work for you.
Thank you everybody for listening. If you're ever so inclined to join a Patreon and think ours would be a good one, that would be patreon.com/hightechlowlife. If you don't want to, that's cool too. We do have an email.
Yeah,
if you want to send us like a long form, your thoughts on the Sprawl Trilogy or
That'd be
William
cool.
Gibson or anything, you can email hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com, I think.
That sounds right. Yeah, if you have Sprawl Trilogy fanfic, send it our way. We used to do dramatic readings. It was fucking great.
I love a fanfic. But other than that, just take care of yourself. We'll be gone for a little while, but doesn't mean we're not still out there cyber puking around.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be in far west Texas, so picture me in a cowboy hat saying this. My bit of advice for the near future is be rootin', be tootin', be shootin', but most of all, be kind.
That's as good a thing to end on as any. So until next time, bye.
Bye. Do your best out there. It's hard.
Hard.
It's hard out there for a pimp, man.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
This has been the High Tech Low Life podcast. Find us on Twitter at Johnny60seconds. Email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com. And find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music provided by Nia Lore at nialore.com. Thank you for listening.
Excuse me, Robo. Any special message for all the kids watching at home?
Stay out of trouble.